good afternoon, or whatever time it is for you. Today we're going to be reading, surprise surprise, another Yordle lore. Today we're going to read through Poppy's lore. I haven't really played Poppy and I'm not really that much of a fan of Poppy, which is why I haven't read her lore up till now. I know the people that like Poppy, but there's a little bit of a reputation that they can be more toxic maybe than other players that play other champions. That's the words. So that's kind of why I haven't done Poppy so far. There's just other Yordles that I like a little bit more, but it's okay. This is now Poppy's time to shine. So I just had a quick look through, and finally her bio and story are a little bit longer than some other champions that we've read recently. So I get those up and we can read through them, because like a few other characters we've got both a bio and a story. So let's have a little bit of a read. Before I start, if you didn't see last week's video, I read through the bio for Vex, the new character. She's also a Yordle, so I read through that. If you're interested, came out last week, so please have a look. It was probably one of my favourites. It was a lot of fun. I guess we'll get on with it now. It's quite bright today. I'm just looking at the background and my face. I have to have it open just to make sure everything's recording, and it's quite bright, so it is daytime, but it's quite a miserable day here, so maybe not the most relaxing, peaceful. If you're trying to sleep, it's maybe not the most peaceful background, but there we go. Anyway, I will open up the story and let's get going. So here we are. This is Poppy, Keeper of the Hammer. Kind of like Thor's hammer. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Runeterra has no shortage of valiant champions, but few are as tenacious as Poppy. Bearing a hammer twice the length of her body. Wow. This determined Yordle has spent untold years searching for the hero of Demacia, a fabled warrior said to be the rightful wielder of her weapon. Ah, it is like Thor's hammer, okay. As legend describes it, this hero is the only person who can unlock the full power of the hammer and lead Demacia to true greatness. Though Poppy has searched the furthest corners of the kingdom for this legendary fighter, her quest has proven fruitless. Each time she has attempted to pass the hammer on to a potential hero, the results have been disastrous, often ending in the warrior's death. Most people would have abandoned the task long ago, but most people do not possess the pluck and resolve of this indomitable. I've never heard that word before. Indomitable heroine. Poppy was once a very different Yordle. For as long as she could remember, she had been in search of a purpose. Feeling alienated by the chaotic whimsy of her other Yordles, she preferred to soak up stability and structure where she could find it. This drive brought her to the human settlements of Western Valoran, where she gazed in wonder at the caravans stripping the countryside of an endless file. I really messed that up. Maybe I should read it. I'm gonna read it again because I did mess it up. This drive brought her to the human settlements of Western Valoran. Or Valoran, maybe I meant to say Valoran, actually. And I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Anyway. Where she gazed in wonder at the caravan stripping the countryside in an endless file. That was better. Many of the people there looked tattered and weary, but they stumbled in pursuit of some ephemeral better life that might lie just beyond the horizon. One day, however, a different sort of caravan passed through. Unlike the other travellers, these people seemed to move with purpose. They all awoke at the exact same time each morning, roused by the sound of a watchman's horn. They took their meals together every day at the same hour, always finishing within a few minutes. They set up their camps and took them down remarkably efficiently. While Yordles used their innate magic to fashion extraordinary things, these humans achieved equally astounding feats through coordination and discipline. They acted in concert like the cogs of a gear, becoming something much larger and stronger than any single person could ever be. To Poppy, that was more marvellous than all the magic in the world. It sounds like maybe it's the scouts, that's all I keep thinking of. As Poppy watched their camp from the safety of her hiding place, her eyes caught the gleam of armour emerging from a tent. It was the group's commanding officer, wearing a brigandine of gleaming steel plates, each piece overlapping, each an integral part of the whole. The man's name was Orlon. His presence seemed to stir the souls of everyone here. If someone became discouraged, he was there to remind them of why they pressed on. If someone collapsed from exhaustion, he inspired them to get up. It reminded Poppy of certain yawls or charms, through it again without magic. Poppy crept in for a closer look. She found herself following this shiny commander as if drawn to him by fate itself. She observed Orlon as he led his soldiers in training exercises. Okay, an army, that makes sense. And then Poppy wears the armour, makes a lot of sense. He was not a large fellow, yet he swung his massive battle hammer with surprising alacrity. There's a lot of difficult words. At night, Poppy listened intently to his hushed discussions with the elders of the camp. She heard them making plans to pull up stakes and head west to build a permanent settlement. Poppy's mind was overwhelmed with questions. Where was Orlon going? Where did he come from? How did he assemble this meticulous band of travellers? And was there a place for a Yordle in it? At that moment she made the most important decision of her life. For the first time ever, she would reveal herself to a human, as this was the first time she'd ever felt a connection with one. While I'm reading it, I'm curious if humans know that Yordles exist. I guess they must do, because in a few that Yordles have actually come in contact with humans through the stories we've read, they don't seem overly shocked of the existence of Yordles, just that they're seeing one. So, I don't know. I wonder if it's like with us and ghosts, but I guess not. Anyway, the introduction was a jarring one, with Orlon having just as many questions for Poppy as she had for him, but the two soon became inseparable. He became a mentor to her, and she a devotee to his cause. In the training grounds, Poppy was an invaluable sparring partner, the only member of Orlon's battalion who was unafraid to strike him. She was never obsequious questioning his decisions with an almost childlike innocence, as if she didn't know she was supposed to be meekly following orders. She accompanied him to the site of the new settlement, an ambitious new nation called Demacia. Okay, it's all coming together. Where all were welcome, regardless of station or background, as long as they contributed to the good of the whole. Orlan became a beloved figure throughout the kingdom. Though Barry had actually seen him wield his hammer, he always bore it on his back, and the weapon quickly became a revered icon for the fledgling nation. People whispered that it had the power to level mountains and tear the world, the earth itself, asunder. Orlan passed the hammer to Poppy on his deathbed, and with it his hope of an enduring kingdom. It was only then that Orlan told her the story of his weapon's creation and how it was never truly intended for his hands. He explained to Poppy that the hammer was meant to go to the head of Demacia, the only one who could keep Demacia whole. As their friend drew his last breath, Poppy swore to him that she would find his hero and place the weapon in his hands. But what Poppy possesses in resolve, she lacks in ego, as it never even occurred to her that she might be the hero Orlan described. That was such a good story. It was very similar to a few of the other stories we've read where the Yordle watches the humans and gets inspired. But I love that bit at the end where she's the one that's meant to have the hammer, but she doesn't realise that she doesn't see that she's the one. I just think that's so, I don't know, clearly she's very humble. I think that's such an interesting part, an interesting thing to think about, and I guess if you were tasked with finding the person who is meant to have the hammer, I'm not sure everyone would think, oh well, it's me that's meant to have the hammer. Yeah, that's very interesting. Don't worry though, we also have a story to read, so let me grab that one up too. 1 minute. Here we are. The story is called The Slayer. Poppy had nothing against the Briar Wolf, aside from the fact that it was about to maul her. Its muzzle was stained crimson from a previous kill, and the Yordle wouldn't chance being its next. That makes sense. She was hot on the tail of a renowned monster slayer, and she didn't intend to die before she found the man and judged his worth. You should step back. You won't survive this, Poppy told the wolf, holding her hammer aloft as a deterrent. But the Briar Wolf was not discouraged. It padded towards her, propelled by some strange desperation that Poppy couldn't identify. Then she saw the telltale foam at the corners of its mouth. The animal was not driven by hunger or territorial instincts. It was in pain, and it wanted release. The wolf leapt at her, as it had made up its mind that its next act would be kill or be killed. Poppy swung the hammer, using every ounce of her strength to move the weapon's considerable weight. The blow she delivered collapsed the animal's skull in an instant, ending its torment. Poppy took no pleasure in the kill, but she supposed it was the best possible outcome for her and the wolf. The Yordle looked around at the empty meadow, but sensed no trace of the monster slayer she'd come to find. She had roamed the countryside following rumours of his activities, hoping this mysterious hunter might be the fabled hero she had sought for so many years, but thus far she'd found wolves and wyverns. All she'd found were wolves and wyverns and highwaymen, most of whom she'd been forced to kill in self-defence. She had spent weeks travelling from hamlet to hamlet in the far-flung corners of Demacia. She walked as fast as her tiny gait would allow, but the monster slayer always seemed to be one step ahead of her, leaving now but tales of heroic exploits in his wake. For a Yordle, time is a curious thing whose passing is seldom felt, but even for Poppy, the search was beginning to grow long. One day, just when she was beginning to doubt herself and her mission, she spied a notice nailed to a roadside post. You are invited to attend the festival of the Slayer. It was a celebration to honour the very monster hunter Poppy had been seeking. How convenient. How convenient he'd put on a festival. Well, there'll be a festival just for him. That's my comment, not theirs. Anyway, if there was any hope of locating this elusive hero, she would certainly find her there. He might even make an appearance, and then she could size him up in person to determine if he was worthy to carry the hammer Orlan had bequeathed her. The prospect put a sprint in her step, and she marched with renewed purpose towards the celebration. Poppy was anxious when she arrived in the village. Its banners and streamers gaudily proclaimed the day's festivities. Ideally, she would have arrived early at such a public event and claimed a spot in the rear of the crowd as a note to attention. But the main market was already packed with spectators, and Poppy found it hard to maneuver through the press of bodies. She squeezed through the legs of the townsfolk, most of whom were too inebriated to notice her. I'd buy him a pint if I were here. If I were here, said one voice above her. Save my ghost by killing that monster. I still can't read the accents. I just can't do it. It's just not possible. Anyway, Poppy's heart raced, as it always did when she heard tales of the hunter. What if he turns out to be the one, she thought. But deep inside, Poppy asked a different question. What would she do once she was rid of the weapon? Would she find an entirely new purpose? A Yordle without one was a pathetic sight indeed. She stopped her mind from wandering and brought it back to the task at hand. The tiny warrior finally managed to weave her way to the back of the market. She found a tall lamppost, both easier to climb and behind the eyes of the crowd. She then shimmied up the post just high enough to see over the throne. Poppy was just in time. On the far side of the market, a speaker stood with several Demacian officials on a dais, and behind him something tall was draped in a ceremonial veil. Even with her keen Yordle senses, Poppy could barely hear the man's words. He was talking about the monster hunter, and how he had saved numerous farms and villages from wyverns, rabid wolves and bandits. He said that although this revered warrior had chosen to remain anonymous, it shouldn't stop them from celebrating his deeds. The slayer had been spotted several weeks ago near the town of Ewendale, leaving the first eyewitness account of his appearance. With that, the speaker pulled off the veil to reveal a stone statue. Poppy grew faint with excitement as she saw the hunter's likeness for the first time. He was a paragon of a Demacian warrior. 7 feet tall, armoured in heavy plate mail, and ripping with sharply defined muscles. Beneath him lay the corpse of a wolf he had presumably slain. Just as the image had begun to settle in Poppy's mind, she heard the sound of a child's voice a few yards away. "Look, Dad, it's the Slayer, the one from the statue," declared the wide-eyed girl. Poppy saw the girl was pointing in her direction. She whirled around to see the Slayer was behind her, but no one was there. No, lass, said the girl's father. That one's no monster slayer, too small by half. The girl and her father quickly lost interest and strolled through the village to partake in the various amusements. As the crowd in front of the statue dispersed, Poppy moved in for a closer inspection. Now she could see the fine details of the hunter's marble depiction. His hair was long, fair, and bound in 2 separate side knots. His hands were gnarled from 100 battles, and in them he held a massive hammer not unlike the one Aurlon had given her. If there was a truer hero in the kingdom, Poppy had never seen him. He has to be the one, Poppy said. I hope I'm not too late. She turned and left the festival as fast as her legs could carry her, taking the swiftest route to Ewendale. Oh, she's so oblivious that it's her. It's quite wholesome. It is wholesome. I like it. I'm not a huge fan of plain Poppy, but I like the story. Well, that was interesting. Let me know if you feel the same way about Poppy as me. I'm not a hater. I'm not a Poppy hater. Just I'm not a Poppy fan. That's it. That's the truth. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, especially if you got this far. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something about the story, because I definitely do each time. If you're interested in other Yoda videos, please see the ones I've already done, or hang on till next week for more. Thank you. Take care. Bye.